Coming up today, we have an official 50% tariff. People are asking, should we replace Tim Cook? A lot of institutions are buying crypto, and what crypto is popping off. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. NVIDIA officially touched that $4 trillion market cap, and we're going to be talking about some price levels and how you can make the most out of your money. And a lot more to cover today. You guys don't want to miss any of the details and any of the plays towards the end of the video. Let's get started. So to start, let's talk a little bit more about NVIDIA. NVIDIA is becoming the first company to hit $4 trillion market cap. NVIDIA to launch a new chip in China as well to be compliant and exportable. NVIDIA is the king of AI and a stock everybody wants to own. People are wondering if this can continue. And honestly, if this China chip works out and no one else can touch their chip potential, it can definitely run some more. We have some price targets up like above that 190 and even higher with some institutions. But a big level I'm personally watching on NVIDIA is going to be that 170 level. Honestly, man, it was the same with the 160 level. I didn't even expect it to hit it so fast, and it rocketed through it. With that being said, I'm going to be watching that 170. Some levels to watch to it. Next level is going to be that 165, 167.5, and then finally that 170 level. Do you guys think we can hit it by the end of this week? Only got 2 more days left, but you never know with NVIDIA, especially with that big rally we had yesterday at market open. But, unfortunately, if we do go down, these are some levels to watch. If it does break below that, we might be looking a little bit more bearish. With that being said, look at that 162.5, 161.5, and that 160 level flat. If we break below that, look at 158.5, 157.5, and that 155 level for NVIDIA. But we are moving pretty strong. And honestly, man, if we continue this bull rally, we can continue upwards with NVIDIA. Just think about the market cap last year and even the year before that. NVIDIA is going wild. Next, I want to talk about is indeed the SPY. SPY has been moving a little bit more differently overall. And honestly, man, I think SPY can have maybe a little bit of a rally if we can get some bullish news, especially Microsoft hitting all-time highs, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later. But I'm keeping my eyes closed on that 625 level. If we can break above that 625 level, I'm personally going to be looking at that 626 to that 627 and then all the way up and potentially hitting that 630 level. That might be next week, but honestly, just have your patience with this one. To the downside, look at that 622.5, 621.5, and that 620 level flat for the SPY overall. So President Donald Trump has announced a lot of things like 200% on pharmaceuticals, but it's not official. But he finally announced the 50% tariff on copper is official and it will be effective August 1st. So keep this in mind for copper stocks. Overall, you can make a lot of money. And I made a short on what copper stocks you guys should be trading. So go check that out if you guys want. Another thing to talk about is something that's right behind NVIDIA. At 3.74 trillion, we have Microsoft. We did hit a high of 506.7. So I am personally going to be looking at that 505 to that 507 level. If we can break above that 507 level, we might even get 510 with Microsoft. It is moving parabolic and you can make a lot of money off the price movements. With that being said, to the downside, look at that 502, 500 flat, 495, and that 490 level for Microsoft overall. Have your patience with this one. I'm personally just trading NVIDIA and potentially Apple, depending on the price targets. But Microsoft is a good one to look at as well. It can also hit that $4 trillion market cap if it gets enough hype. First link in the description below. If you guys want to up your trading knowledge, one thing that you got to do if you guys want to start becoming profitable is learning. And I have courses down below, very, very cheap. And with that code down below, you can get them 50% off for a limited time only. So next one on my radar, and I know a lot of people personally making a lot of money off of this one, but Amazon. So now we see Amazon above that 10% level year over year for sales for the Prime Day. It is finally green because yesterday in our last video and in a short that I made, we seen a 14% decrease in the first 4 hours. This is better data than we seen yesterday. So watch Amazon to the upside potentially, but keep data on your radar and honestly just use common price action, supports and resistance, and however you trade to make a trade off of this. We also had some bad news that brought Amazon down throughout the day, but in Ohio, with the rules, they are going to make data center pay minimum energy needs, and we've seen a dip from Amazon with the news. If we look at the charts, this was the dip that I am talking about, but sooner or later, we bought that back instantly. But this is just some bad news on data centers overall because they're going to be paying out more money. But with that bad news that we got 2 days ago, we honestly came back the next day and went green. I have a friend that actually bought a call option towards the lows and then honestly sold it right at market open, making a decent amount of money. With that being said, I'm not going to say rinse and repeat, but if we do have a little bit of another sell, you might be able to buy a call option and let it go back up. But just have your patience with this one. I'm personally looking at that 220 to that 219 level to buy some call options unless it starts falling below these levels, having my patience. And honestly, if the play works out, it works out. If it doesn't, look for my next play. So we do have Bitcoin hitting some highs. With all that being said, some stocks to trade related to Bitcoin is indeed going to be MSTR. And then we have Coinbase. And a ticker I personally like to day trade just because it has cheap options is IBIT, IBIT. I personally recommend trading this, but having your patience. And you can even trade Bitcoin both ways, especially if you have a sell-off filling these gaps back downwards. You can make a decent amount of money off of this. One thing about MSTR is insane that we seen yesterday. They made a big bet on buying Bitcoin and they finally came out with their unrealized profits is $24 billion. That is honestly insane. MSTR is a stock that just started buying Bitcoin and honestly made a lot of money off this play. Because honestly, do you guys really know what the company even does? The company really doesn't really make any money off of what they do. But with their Bitcoin, they rallied up a decent amount and has been moving with Bitcoin overall. And I do recommend checking out MSTR, especially if you see some bigger moves with Bitcoin. But just understand that the options are pretty expensive compared to like other ones, but maybe around that $600 to $700. And if we look at the next week, around $1,000+. But higher risk, higher reward. But if you guys do want to have lower risk, you can use IBIT, IBIT. And this is why I recommend it all the time because you're only risking $100. And if we do the 3 weeks, which is what I normally do, it's like $200 for 3 weeks out. You can make a decent amount of money off of IBIT as well. And it moves exactly with Bitcoin. But we got more on crypto later on in the video. We have a partnership with Oracle, Day One Data Centers, to establish its first cloud service centers in Indonesia. Oracle will lease these data centers to them. We did have a decent push to the upside and we might even go up even more, so have Oracle on your radar. CoreWeave is also the first AI cloud provider to offer NVIDIA's RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell chips. These GPUs provide up to 5.6 faster LLM inference and 3.5% faster for text to video. So CoreWeave can potentially benefit off of having these better GPUs. So keep CoreWeave on your radar, but right now we're looking pretty bearish. So keep that in mind as well. So we have the market moving back to extreme greed today. People are shrugging off the bad news. I mean, after we've seen this historic comeback in the market, I think people are going to be a little bit more patient with selling their stocks now. And with the fear of missing out, they don't want to sell too early and then the stocks start rallying again. So keep that in mind for any bad news that comes out. Normally, we might get a little bit of red, just like we seen on Monday. But with all that being said, normally we buy it all back. So keep this one in your mind. While trading, it's not really at the beginning of the year where the market just started falling and kept falling. Now we're just falling and then we rally back up. But for the stock calendar today, we don't really have too much. We have the initial jobless claims that might move some of the markets a little bit. But we also have some speeches. Data yesterday just came out neutral, and tomorrow is going to be kind of slow as well. We just have monthly US federal budget coming out. So, man, more on the Apple stock, man. People are also talking about replacing Tim Cook. Is he complacent, you may be wondering? We have seen some good ideas that can move Apple to the next level, like a car, a flip phone, and other things that could change their product line. They're behind in AI. The price of the glasses was kind of insane and people are taking it back. Phones coming out with minor tweaks, literally the same thing as last year. I think we just need to make a shift fast or they will fall behind. What do you guys think about this? Comment down below. I personally think that if we can get some good news on AI, maybe a better phone, and maybe another product added to the product line, I think Apple can start making a better move. With all that being said, we did have a big sell-off yesterday. I was honestly debating on buying a call option at that 207.5 level, but honestly was like, nah, and I just bought NVIDIA. With all that being said, it would have made a decent amount of money, but we are still falling down. And you never know, we might get a big red candle and come back down to this 207 level, but Apple isn't really looking too strong. And like I said before, man, we just need some good news on AI or something. We had a potential deal coming out with AI, but with Perplexity, but I don't really know like what all's going on now. Maybe we might get a good catalyst coming out, bringing Apple maybe back to that, 215 level. But with that being said, man, just have your patience with Apple. I'm personally waiting for the hype to come back or something good to drop with Apple overall. Also, Apple did come out saying that it thinks it is too big to tariff. But honestly, do you guys agree or disagree? So President Trump is ramping up his efforts through both public criticism and strategic candidate promotion to install a successor more aligned with his economic agenda and willing to pursue rate cuts. President Donald Trump is also calling for the biggest rate cut, saying it is at least 3 points too high. It is costing the US roughly $360 billion a point per year in refinancing costs. Also saying it is the hottest country in the world. We have no inflation and companies are pouring into America. Do you guys agree or disagree? So before I talk more about this article, it doesn't really show any dates in the article, but it talks about the $7,500 federal tax cut for new electric vehicle purchases and the $4,000 credit for used EVs. But it expires, the date is September 30th, 2025, as part as the newly passed tax and budget. But talking more about this article, US automakers are stepping up promotions for electric vehicles, urging buyers to take advantage of the current $7,500 federal tax credit. That incentive is scheduled to expire this fall as part of the recently approved tax and budget legislation. The deadline for the credit is approaching quickly. Automakers are using it as a selling point to accelerate EV purchases. The ban in question was passed by Congress and directly eliminates the $7,500 tax, which currently applies to both new EV purchases and leases. A sudden loss of the tax credit could cause a noticeable dip in US EV sales this fall if customers delay purchases. Expiration creates a use it or lose it vibe, likely boosting short-term demand as buyers rush for final eligibility. Honestly, with the EV, I think the bill was to make it, you have to have an EV by 2030 or 2035 or something like that. That's still not a thing as well. I think that got taken out. But with that being said, with that being taken out and the tax credit getting taken out, I think people are going to be pushing for more gas powered vehicles just because, if you look at an EV, it's pretty cool. The self-driving, especially if you're busy and you got things to do, you could trade while you drive technically. Who says a gas powered car can't do that? With all that being said, man, I think people are going to be going for more gas powered vehicles, especially, man, with, the heavy battery, the battery exploding on some crashes. And honestly, people are just seeing EVs as unsafe in some places. Honestly, I think EV sales might be dropping because of this. But comment down below how you guys feel about this. We also have Elon Musk, XAI launches Grok 4 alongside a $300 monthly subscription, which is insane. But if you guys use this for work, it's probably beneficial. But with that being said, I think a few days ago or a few weeks ago, Grok was acting like racist or something. And then now in one of the countries, I forgot which country it was, I apologize, but it is actually banned because of this. But that is kind of insane. But if you really think about it, AI is using websites and just the internet to learn off of. And honestly, if you let an AI learn off the internet, they're probably going to be saying some messed up things because the internet is not really safe. We also have TSMC second quarter sales rise 38.6% year over year, and they beat forecast. So you can watch, key stocks like Nvidia and stuff like that go up because they have a big relation to it. We also seen Kellogg soars 50% after a buyout. But let's talk more about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto in general. So we did have Ethereum mega whale accumulating more than we've seen with their 95% rally in October 2022. We are also seeing a report showing growing institutional crypto adoption, with them highlighting Ethereum showing good value with its use being better than Bitcoin. And companies are selling their Bitcoin and buying more Ethereum. Just saying that more people are buying things with Ethereum, more people are accepting payments with Ethereum. So watch Ethereum, have that on your radar. So looking at Ethereum, we do have a big push to the upside, as well as with Bitcoin if we look at it too. But we did break that $2,700 level. I'm personally looking at that $3,000 next. And let me know how much Ethereum you guys have. But with that being said, Bitcoin is making a big rally. Gave you guys the stocks, MSTR, Coinbase, and IBIT is great stocks to trade with the Bitcoin rally as well. Now to some supports and resistance. Already gave you guys it for the SPY, Nvidia, and Apple. So let's talk about Palantir for a second, because Palantir is making another break to the upside. We do still have gaps to fill all the way up to that 147 level and even potentially hitting that 150 next. With that being said, look at that 145, 147.5, and finally that 150. If we could break above that 150, look at 151.5 and that 155 level. If we do start breaking down once again, look at that 141.5, 140, and then all the way down to that 135 to that 130 level for Palantir overall. Next is going to be Tesla. Honestly, just has been moving in this range. So honestly, man, look at that 300 level. If we can break above that 300 once again, 305, 310, 315, 320, 325, and 330 to the downside. Look at that 295 level. Below that, look at 292.5, 290, 285, and that 280 level to the downside. For Apple, have your patience with Apple though. We do have Google and we do have earnings coming out. Earnings might make it break up a little bit more if we get some good earnings. But with all that being said, to the downside, look at that 175, 173.5, 172, and that 170 level. To the upside, if we do start breaking past this range that we're kind of in right now, look at that 180, break above that, 181.5, 183, 185, and that 190 level next for Google. Another one I personally want to look at is AVGO Broadcom. It is honestly a sleeper AI stock. But I mean, honestly, I've probably been the only one sleeping on it, but it is moving decently. So look at that 280, 283.5, and that 285 level. Past that, look at that 290 to that 300, but that's going to be later on. And then to the downside, look at that 275, 273.5, and that 270 level for Broadcom. And honestly, I want to look at AMD as well, because AMD honestly isn't really moving as strong as it was, but we do have a big rally right now. So to the upside, look at 141.5, 143, and that 145 level. Past that, look at 150. To the downside, if we do start breaking down, look at that 140 flat, 139, 137, and that 135 level to the downside for AMD overall. With all that being said, man, just have your patience trading today. Watch news, have that heavy on your radar, and honestly, comment down below how much you guys made today. Good luck trading today. Check out some of the courses down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.